Commercial right on I-40.
Randy, Mary, and Statesville.com.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Good morning, Lake Norman. Cornelius, Mayor Woody Washam right here, and what a great show we have for you today. We are about town in all kinds of directions today. I have as my very special guest my longtime friend, but now Cornelius Commissioner Robert Carney. Welcome, Robbie.
Welcome, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate being here with you.
It's just a great pleasure to have you here. And, you know, you're kind of new at this political game, but you have been in and around the surfaces of that for so very long. And back in the day, you learned it well. You absolutely learned it well. So let me ask you this. You know, this is I think our listeners always like a chance to get to know our elected officials a little bit more on a personal note. So tell them a little bit about you and
Sure.
kind of where you came from that got you here, what brought you to Cornelius as a resident, and just we want to talk about you for right now.
All right. Sure. So, my goodness. Let's see how to begin that story. So, I'm from Hickory, North Carolina originally. Went to Fred T. Ford, went to East Carolina University. Graduated, moved to Miami for one of my first jobs. Met my then girlfriend, now wife. She was finishing up college at University of Miami. And we come to North Carolina. I had worked in magazine publishing. I'd worked in a couple of different capacities of sales and business development. And I stumble upon this industry of economic development. And in doing so, there's a couple of individuals now this is in Iredell County, that think that I might be well suited for a role in economic development. And that's where you and I think, first got.
I think we did.
Got together.
I'm laying claim on that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. You deserve it. You deserve claim for that. So that was when I started in economic development as the existing industry and marketing manager. And then quickly got moved to executive director. Got to work with Russ, who you hired also.
I did.
Who did a fabulous job, was a wonderful mentor to me. And then I got the chance to run economic development for Iredell County for about a decade. And then from there, we had a lot of success. I think actually you and I together, you were board chair many times, as well as our chairman of our South Iredell Community Development Corporation, which was focused on like land development and real estate assets for growing jobs in the community. We were ranked #1 micropolitan in the nation for 8 consecutive
years.
Yeah,
I know that was so much
8
pride.
consecutive years. Yep. So still to this day, that record stands. There's no other community in the entire nation that's even had it. I have to step back there. Findlay, Ohio, got it 2 consecutive years.
Wow.
But that's the closest anybody's come to our record. So, yeah, quite a statement to leadership and what you guys were able to do there.
That's just quite incredible. Back in the day, the Mooresville, South Iredell economic development, my connection was through my banking career.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the business world in the connection of the town of Mooresville and South Iredell, but I always lived in Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
So I could come home at night and get away from my job and all that political stuff related to economic development, but I loved it. I really did. And it allowed me to cut my teeth on that. And I'm certainly not an expert, but as from the board standpoint of running economic development, I sort of got to see it inside
Mm-hmm.
and out. Great folks like you and others taught me well. And it really coincided with my banking career as well. It's all about business development.
Oh yeah,
It's all about selling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So from Iredell County, you moved on, moved up. So tell us about that.
So from there, and now at this time, so I was still a relatively young man at the time. I had an apartment and got a place in Cornelius, and then I was offered the executive director's role for Cabarrus County. For us, it was a lot bigger market. You're talking about 5 cities, and what that gave me the chance to do is to refine my skills. All of the things that it took me the better part of a decade to put in place, I got to put that to work in Cabarrus County with 5 unique cities that all have unique value system, unique personalities, and unique goals as far as what they were wanting to accomplish. And so me and a really, really talented team got to work together and put and implement that. And within, I think it was about 3 years, I was looking back at the community saying, well, we kind of got everything put in place the way that you guys want it. What more do you want from me now? So I spent about 5 years in total in Cabarrus County and had a lot of success there. That's where Eli Lilly was recently located with one of the largest biopharmaceutical manufacturing facilities in the country. One of the first of its kind for Charlotte. Red Bull put one of their largest facilities in the country at the grounds at Concord. We just had phenomenal success. I can use Concord as an example. They're a community that they were predominantly distribution. And one of their biggest reasons for wanting me to come there is saying, hey, Robbie, here's where the market sees us, but we want to be something different. Can you help us move from being a community that is, predominantly distribution to a community that can land and locate office development type projects? And that was a big challenge, but that was a fun challenge. And that's exactly what we started doing is thinking about their real estate offering, their product, their workforce. How do we start moving all of these pieces into the right place so that a project like Eli Lilly can put a massive headquarters, not a headquarters, but a massive office complex there. So,
that's awesome. That is a great story to tell. And, I assume that the environment in Iredell County and Cabarrus counties was a little different. I guess every environment's a little different. Like North Mecklenburg would be even more different. So how would you evaluate that?
So, I think depending on the community, there's a lot of personalities as far as the way in which they view development, the way in which they think about how to grow and things like there's that good old boy network, this stuff. It's just there. And one of the first things you have to do is kind of understand the dynamics that are at play and the personalities and where values are. And then you're trying to understand the community's values too. So there is that in just about every community you go into. What I would say is that where we are in Cornelius, North Carolina, we have, from a workforce and from a talent perspective, we have more assets than just about any other community in the nation. The only thing I'll say about that is all of that talent is moving outside of our community to go to work each day. And this is what we've talked about is I would like for more of those people to be here and working on a daily basis.
Isn't that a great challenge for us? And that's been my goal too as mayor. And I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of companies coming through here. We win a few and we don't win them all though. But a lot of executives and a lot of high ranking folks throughout I guess the Fortune 500 companies live right here in this town. It's pretty incredible to see that and experience that and get to know these folks. So, it's an interesting world we live in. We'll be back in just a moment. We'll talk more about economic development and Robbie Carney. So this is Mayor Woody Washam, and we will return.
Have your say.
Trusting the government to fix anything is a joke.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't even trust the banks with our money.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
We're really starting to lock into a summertime weather pattern over the next few days and into the upcoming Memorial Day weekend. Heat and humidity coming back. We're in the upper 80s this afternoon with sunshine to start, but dodging scattered showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. Overnight, a partly cloudy sky. The showers and storms will taper off. Temperatures step down into the mid-60s. It's a copy and paste kind of weather day heading into our Friday. And that's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like ISI Denver.
here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live in Mooresville offers up free music on Thursday, May 23rd with a performance by area favorite and Carolina's premier rock and roll cover band, Black Glass. Event time is 6:30 p.m. with the concert powered by Waves Entertainment beginning at 7. Friday is Live Under the Oaks at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. Justin Minton's solo music performance of rock, R&B, and soul begins at 6 p.m. Grab your chairs and head to the Brookdale stage on Friday night for free music by Justin Minton. The Charlotte Motor Speedway has high-speed NASCAR racing for Memorial Day weekend. On Friday, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series holds the North Carolina Education Lottery 200. The ARCA Series is also in action on Friday with the General Tire 150. On Saturday, the NASCAR Cup Series holds their qualifying session, and the Xfinity Series races in the Bet MGM 300. Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series competes in one of their crown jewels, the 65th running of the Coca-Cola 600. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for tickets and information. The Kane Center for the Arts welcomes Philip Hamrick on Friday, May 31st for his album release celebration. The singer-songwriter from Mooresville releases his first solo album as an independent artist with The Tunnel Club. Hamrick's personal stories are delivered through vocals and acoustics. Doors open at 7 p.m. with Hamrick's The Tunnel Club album release celebration at 8 p.m. on Friday, May 31st. For tickets, more information on this show and many other programs, visit CaneArts.org. That's C-A-I-N Arts.org. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
About Town continues now. Here's your host, Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
And we're back. Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam here with Robbie Carney, Commissioner for the town of Cornelius, newly elected this past November. He's really not new anymore because we wear these commissioners out and actually, make them drink from a fire hose. So how's this experience as a commissioner work for you? How's it different from your perception when you were campaigning?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say the first thing, and I kind of knew this going in, but it's one thing to know, it's another thing to live it, is that you can be as busy as you want to be as a commissioner.
That is so true.
You want to be busy, the town will keep you moving on stuff. And the thing that I've been really trying to do is think about the difference between being busy and being effective. And what are we doing that's truly making us effective long term and making long term decisions? Because you can get, how, between staff, they do such an incredible job, but they are in the day-to-day decisions of managing and running a local government. They can bog you down with that stuff if you let them. And if that's where your interest is just being into the day-to-day minutia. I try to rise above that a little bit more and say, like, where are we going in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and what kind of decisions do we need to be thinking about to
I
get
think
there?
that's a great way to do it. And I know I've worked with commissioners in the past that get so into the detail of running the town. That's not our job. It's not my job as mayor, nor yours as a commissioner to do that. We pay good money to folks that are very effective and experts in running a town like ours. And man, they do a good job. We have such a good staff, and I totally trust their opinion and their input, their advice, and the direction they help us set this town. We're still the boss.
Oh yeah,
but we absolutely need to be looking and planning for the future. The thing that I think we have done better, at least the tenure that I have had as an elected official, is the planning, the effect of good planning. We really weren't doing a very good job with that prior to, I think, where we exist now. So we've come a long way, and we've got to keep that in perspective and then let the experts run the town because, man, they're superstars. They really are.
And the interesting thing is, and you know this, you've seen this too. While an individual's heart can be in the right place, you can actually be more damaging than helpful. As I say, context is everything. You're working with staff members that live and breathe this stuff every day, and then all of a sudden you get a concern that comes up, and it's a valid concern. It's something you want to address,
Right.
but all of a sudden you're trying to be the solution to it when you've got staff that are trained, they understand all the dynamics that are at play, all the processes that have been put in place. And really that stuff needs to go to them. That needs to go to them so that they can create an effective solution that's not creating more problems. And so yeah, I think you've done a great job of that, is helping the board kind of stay focused on the right things and not getting so caught up in the wrong things, or at least delegating those things to
I agree. I think
to the
this
staff.
I think this board's done a very good job at that, but not all boards have, and I think that's a huge difference with this board. We've got to keep our focus in the right direction. So I'm very proud of that. But we've got a lot of work to do too, and we've got a lot of planning to do. There's a lot of things coming our way. But I guess my biggest observation is when boards get too political, they get less effective.
Yes. Oh,
So
yes.
you've got to keep your focus on doing the right thing for the town. Sometimes they're hard decisions, and sometimes you have, while you need to listen to people, like as in citizens. There's sometimes I guess the biggest challenge with that is making sure citizens are informed properly. And some citizens like to be informed, and some don't care. I mean, that's goes along with the fact that so many of our citizens don't even vote. So it's pretty incredible. I would love to get folks more engaged. That's why I love our advisory boards. That's why I love setting up mayor's committees, because it involves people. And I think we, to get them in that setting, they learn.
Yeah.
They learn
Oh,
what we're dealing with, and it becomes an incredible experience for everyone. So, and then they come out of that with the same respect for our staff that the board has, working with them on a daily basis. So,
And that happens, I mean, I don't want to say on a daily basis, but at least a few times a week, that I will get a resident that will come to me with a particular issue. And they'll have an idea behind that issue. They'll bring it to me, and then we'll sit down and I'll ask them. Normally I'll say, do you got 10 minutes? Because I'll give you all the context that I have, and then you can tell me how you still feel about that. And once you do that, they start scratching their head and be like, I didn't
think
fully,
about that.
I didn't fully understand how, like, this particular item, how we're now talking about that would generate a policy decision. That policy decision would have these downstream impacts, and therefore it would actually negatively affect my quality of life, rather than just doing the thing. I just want you to do the thing. Just fix that thing.
Right.
Well, a lot of times fixing that thing means it's going to create a lot of other things that are attached to it. So, that's been one of the fun parts, is kind of helping people kind of really think through some of the problems we try to solve each day.
Well, at the state level, we've all talked about, and we all know, and most citizens even know, the sausage grinding process that takes place in Raleigh and in D.C. and places like that. But it happens in our town too. And one of those main processes that we go through in an extensive way is budget.
Oh, yeah.
So that you've just experienced your first budget process. I have done that for, my goodness, 11 years now. That was probably my 11th budget as a commissioner and as mayor. And it's a pretty amazing experience, but that's where staff comes in, because staff works at the direction of the board. We have one employee as a town board, and that would be our town manager. So
Andrew, he does a great job too.
And doesn't he do a great job?
He
He really does, but he works at our direction. So making all that come together and match up for the good of this community, and making sure that our services and the way things we provide to our citizens are intact is a pretty tough job. It really is. So, for somebody to have the skills of him to round that all out and make it come together, and we passed our budget almost in record time. I love unanimous, and we did pass our budget unanimously this past meeting. There was really nothing else to talk about. We had it down. We had exhausted every turn throughout the way, and don't have a tax increase, which was good news. Had to work hard, but we didn't need one. And why would you invoke a tax increase if you don't need one? You do have to look for the future, but we'll deal with that when we need to deal with it. So it's going to be an interesting road ahead. So anyway, I just wonder what your take was on that process. And
I thought that was probably for anyone out there that really wants to understand how your town works. Just be a part of the budget process. I mean, it's all online. It's certainly not the most riveting thing. It's not like watching Game of Thrones. There's no, but if you really want to understand from the personnel, from the department heads, from the strategic assets and making sure that not only do you have the right people, do your people have the right equipment to do their jobs on a daily basis, and all of that relating back to citizen surveys of what is important to the community, what are their strategic priorities, what are their values, and then layering both our personnel resources, their assets, and doing that in an effective and efficient way to make sure that we have the staff necessary to do the work, and that we're compensating them appropriately so that we don't lose people. You get these layers of all of these things. I mean, it is as in-depth as you want to go. And I mean, think about it. We went every department through all the personnel that it took to for that department, to all the equipment and the age of that equipment, and what is the life of police radios to scanners to cars to I mean, you go through all of it.
You do. You remember we were deliberating over whether to replace a vehicle in our park department that had 200,000 miles
That's
on
right.
it.
Yep.
So I don't remember what we did about that, but I think we probably didn't replace it. So
I think
at the end of the
we were
day,
able to stretch it one more year. As I say, and we've all got our fingers crossed that it'll last one more year. But yeah, I think you're right.
We'll deal with it if it goes out on us. So, but I'm glad you decided to dip your toe into the political world, Robbie. You've got, I believe you got it in your blood a little bit, and you've worked with it, your entire career in economic development for sure. You've worked with boards, and that's, I had that experience behind me too. So, don't you think it's really different? It's so different to be on an elected board versus a volunteer board or civic board. Isn't that the truth?
Oh yeah. So it's, from economic development, I was a consultant behind the scenes that was trying to give elected leaders the right data and direction to do the right thing.
Right.
But having the intestinal fortitude to do the right thing when sometimes it is not the most politically, popular thing to do.
Sure.
Really hard. I mean, it really is hard. And so I used to, sometimes wanted to bang my head up against the wall, and telling elected leaders, do the right thing. Don't do the politically inconvenient thing. Just do the right thing. And now I get to live that. That's going to be a fun thing for me to do. And I'm getting to see and experience that. And hopefully I will, hopefully I've done that thus far, and hopefully I'll continue to do so. But you've been a great leader to us, so I'm grateful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and it's great to have good commissioners to work with. And you become friends. You become, you exist with a very tight relationship because you work with each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty critical, really is.
And we sat frozen during early voting together in the wee hours of the morning.
Oh, wasn't that something? It wasn't something.
Yeah.
This is Cornelius, Mayor Woody Washam, and we'll be right back.
Be a part of the conversation.
I listen on the way to work.
Have your say.
It's more than just opinions, it's facts.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
We're really starting to lock into a summertime weather pattern over the next few days and into the upcoming Memorial Day weekend. Heat and humidity coming back. We're in the upper 80s this afternoon with sunshine to start, but dodging scattered showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. Overnight, a partly cloudy sky. The showers and storms will taper off. Temperatures step down into the mid-60s. It's a copy and paste kind of weather day heading into our Friday. And that's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hear that?
67 American muscle car. Oh, yeah.
Well, nothing beats my Toro time cutter from Sharp's Lawn Equipment. It cuts circles around the competition, cutting my mowing time in half.
Right now, Sharp's Lawn Equipment is offering 0% financing up to $800 rebates and Toro time cutter mowers as low as $29.99. Visit Sharp's Lawn Equipment in Statesville or visit us at sharpslawn.com.
Hi, this is Susan. I'm excited to let you know that Lake Mountain Coffee is now available for private events. Our beautiful historic building with its 360-degree mezzanine has hosted many private parties, catered diners, and even an actual wedding. Please contact Andy at 704-252-1886 for more information. Thank you so much.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Join us on Friday for the ARCA Menard Series from Charlotte Motor Speedway at 6 p.m. and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series from Charlotte at 8 p.m. right here on WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Good news, bad news on the economy. S&P Global's monthly measure of U.S. business activity finds expansion at the quickest pace in 2 years here in May, with manufacturers and service providers seeing rebounds from a slower April. Right along with business, prices are accelerating also, further making the case for the Fed Reserve to keep withholding its plans for cutting interest rates. The weekly snapshot of the labor market finds unemployment lines remain historically short. Labor Department shows new jobless claim filings falling 8,000 last week to a smaller than forecast 215,000. Weakening growth in demand for electric vehicles and the recently demonstrated fascination by Elon Musk for autonomous driving over electrification have quietly led to a change at Tesla. In its annual impact statement, Tesla has deleted its previously stated goal of selling 20 million vehicles every year by 2030. Stock indexes are splitting it, Dow losing 0.5%, NASDAQ gaining 0.5%, S&P up 1/10. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Now, more About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Good day, everybody. This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we're back for our next segment of About Town. And as you know, we're talking to Commissioner Robert Carney. Robert's one of our newly elected commissioners here in the town of Cornelius this past November. He worked mighty hard to get elected, and it worked out. And he brings us some very unique skills to the job, economic development being one of them. But, you've done more than economic development. The other thing, one of our younger members of the town board brings to us is the technical expertise. And I think that has been quite valuable. So tell us about your tech career, Rob.
Sure. So economic development for about 15 years total. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, it kind of gave me an opportunity to take a step back and think about chapters of life and what do I want to do, for my next chapter. And that led me to a software development company that really focused more on what I will say is more of the early stage entrepreneur. And so with my economic development background, I had become quickly this consultant that would work with these earlier stage companies, talking to them about how are they developing a product or concept? Who is their target market? How are they scaling it? How are they building teams? And then I was kind of leveraging all this stuff I'd learned through economic development about scaling companies. So what it's done though is it's given me a really healthy understanding of those early stage ventures and what they go through, but then also how we can all leverage and utilize technology in ways that hopefully aren't, for the good, not necessarily for the bad, because we can have a whole discussion about, technology and some of the ways that it can be ultra pervasive and probably a burden. But from a communication standpoint, there are so many ways that we can be communicating with one another, sharing content, sharing information. For those, particularly for those residents that want to learn and understand and have a better grasp of what's going on for their town, I think there's a lot of opportunities for us. And so we've used social media. The town of Cornelius does a great job with that. But I think there's a lot more that we can be doing and making things very digestible, easy to grab and grasp. And so that's kind of some of, I think, the influence that I've been bringing to the town board, especially when we're talking about budget retreats and things like that, saying like, how are we utilizing some of these modern day tools to better communicate with our residents? And hopefully that's some of the things that we'll be seeing more of moving forward.
Yeah, I think we've got some good opportunities in those areas, and we're very, very happy to have that expertise on our board. I think that gives some good direction to staff. Folks that work in government are a little bit different. Sometimes they get into to a box, if you will, that government creates or causes them to have to live within, and I think it's refreshing for them to, I guess, get plugged into the outside world a little bit more. So that's why I certainly encourage our staff to participate in seminars and external kinds of opportunities. We had a great trip to D.C. You were part of that a while back, and I think those kind of things where you can have dialogue and interaction with a lot of different folks in a lot of different places in a lot of different fields at one time is very helpful. And I hope we can do more than that, into the future. I think that's what's going to take us out of our box and keep us leading the way, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, and Mayor, you can attest to this. We got to meet with all of our federal legislators and lawmakers. And in doing so, one of the things that they kept saying is it is very easy to help Cornelius because how on top of it we are as far as strategically and from an organization. They said that is not the case for most communities that they have to deal with. A lot of times they're asking for some type of help, some type of assistance, and they haven't done their own homework to be prepared for any type of federal assistance or support. We're not that case. I mean, that was what I quickly learned is our staff is so on top of it that it makes it very, very easy for our federal legislators to help us out. And then just getting to me, I mean, think about it. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of other cities represented in that room while we were up there, and we got to hear from success to best practices to horror stories about what some of those elected leaders are going through in their communities. Communities that are shrinking, that are dealing with budgetary issues, staff issues. I mean, you name it. We got to see and experience a lot of those things. So I think one of the key takeaways is how blessed Cornelius is as a community. We've got a lot of the right things in the right place to where we can do some amazing things over the next 10 to 20 years. We just have to be really disciplined about how we go about it.
Yeah, the platform is in place.
That's
think,
right.
To bolt to the next level, but we've got to be careful. We've got to be cautious, and we've got some challenges like transportation. We deal with that constantly, but it's a thrill to know that these projects are starting. My goodness.
Yeah.
When I first got elected, we had nothing. We had absolutely nothing on the horizon, road-wise. Total shame. And now 13 projects, 6 of them will be under contract in the next year. That's pretty good progress. It really is.
And you remember we've talked about this openly. I basically said we need to have an aggressive communication effort with the residents because there is going to be so much construction for road improvements, actually addressing and answering the need of roads, that there's going to be a temporary pain associated with that. And you know this, uh, when somebody's stuck in traffic, they don't care why they're stuck in traffic. They just know they got to drop off their kids. They gotta, they gotta get to work. And so we're talking about how do we communicate with our residents that they understand this is just a temporary pain while we make improvements to the community. So we've talked about kind of signage and different things to kind of remind our residents that, hey guys, this is what progress feels like. Unfortunately, you're gonna feel a little bit of temporary pain here.
Well, I'm feeling kind of a bulldozer attitude, and I'm trying to control myself, to tell you the truth, about getting these roads built, not only with government, but with our citizens, to have them understand that, yes, we're going to have to cut a few trees. We're sensitive to that, and we don't like it, but that's how you build roads. You don't build roads or widen roads without that, but you can always, re-landscape. You can always plant back, and there's a lot of discussion going on about tree canopy and things of this nature. Well, I love our tree canopy too, but we have got to fix our transportation problem in this community. That is the top priority of all of our citizens, and that's something that I think I know. In speaking for myself, I just am going to do all I can to drive that home as quickly as possible. I think our board backs that direction.
Oh yeah, I believe so too. And I think, the discussion around tree preservation and things like that, I think that's a byproduct of growth that you're seeing. The things that the residents and the citizens have asked for is real improvements to our ability to move people from point A to point B. They've asked for real impact and improvements.
Right.
Those are in process and moving right now. And what is the byproduct of that? The byproduct of that is that the state and NCDOT now has, these different road projects that they're putting on, and in doing so, trees get taken out. And so I certainly understand the concern. We should be doing everything we can to maintain and preserve trees as we can, but not at the cost of the priority that the town has stated, which is improving traffic flow, improving our roads and road systems. They have said very plainly that is in our budget surveys, that's, I think of the things that they care about, it was almost like 60% of their concerns were around either road improvements or traffic mitigation.
Yeah.
So it's and this is where progress is really, really being made right now.
It's amazing. It really is. And I think we should be clear too that a lot of folks blame Cornelius's growth on that. That is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. We're part of a town that has grown 0.8% in 36 months. That is really no growth.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, it's trickled up a little bit, but it's just basically no growth. And there are some things on the horizon, but they're not major. They're not going to create major impact for, I don't think, traffic or anything else. Traffic's coming from Huntersville. Traffic's coming from Mooresville. Coming from Denver. It's coming from everywhere else that is growing like a weed.
Our friends are growing.
Our friends are growing. We're not.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I think we got it right. So anyway, more discussion on that when we come back in our next segment. And I want to talk about our future. I think we got a bright future in our town if we get some things right. So we'll have some opportunity to get your input on that, Robbie.
Sure. That sounds great.
Certainly appreciate that. This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we'll be right back for our final segment.
"76 years strong, and we're still the one." WSIC. News. Talk. Now.
We're really starting to lock into a summertime weather pattern over the next few days and into the upcoming Memorial Day weekend. Heat and humidity coming back. We're in the upper 80s this afternoon with sunshine to start, but dodging scattered showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. Overnight, a partly cloudy sky. The showers and storms will taper off. Temperatures step down into mid-60s. It's a copy and paste kind of weather day heading into our Friday. And that's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live in Mooresville offers up free music on Thursday, May 23rd with a performance by area favorite and Carolina's premier rock and roll cover band, Black Glass. Event time is 6:30 p.m. with the concert powered by Waves Entertainment beginning at 7. Friday is Live Under the Oaks at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. Justin Minton's solo music performance of rock, R&B, and soul begins at 6 p.m. Grab your chairs and head to the Birkdale stage on Friday night for free music by Justin Minton. The Charlotte Motor Speedway has high-speed NASCAR racing for Memorial Day weekend. On Friday, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series holds the North Carolina Education Lottery 200. The ARCA Series is also in action on Friday with the General Tire 150. On Saturday, the NASCAR Cup Series holds their qualifying session, and the Xfinity Series races in the Bet MGM 300. Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series competes in one of their crown jewels, the 65th running of the Coca-Cola 600. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for tickets and information. The Kane Center for the Arts welcomes Philip Hamrick on Friday, May 31st for his album release celebration. The singer-songwriter from Mooresville releases his first solo album as an independent artist with The Tunnel Club. Hamrick's personal stories are delivered through vocals and acoustics. Doors open at 7 p.m. with Hamrick's The Tunnel Club album release celebration at 8 p.m. on Friday, May 31st. For tickets, more information on this show and many other programs, visit CaneArts.org. That's C-A-I-N Arts.org. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
We are back with more of About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
And we're back. Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam here, and we are in our final segment with Commissioner Robbie Carney. You know, it's great to have a little youth on our board, and you know, the great things that we do as part of our town with planning and all that's about the future. And I think we've got a pretty bright one, don't you? Don't you agree with that, Robbie?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I've been around this town my entire life and really never lived for any amount of time anywhere else. But we've come so far. But I think the way we move this town forward is to probably change our thinking a little bit. I guess by being in banking all these years, for me, you're used to change, and so I don't push back too much on that. But in terms of a priority list of how we plan for the future and what we should look like in the future, I'm just going to throw it out to you because you dream a lot like the rest of us and have seen some great change come to our region. So what kind of advice would you give us as we work our way through that?
Yeah, so it gets, I don't want to say trickier. It tests your discipline once you get to a point where Cornelius has. So what typically happens in growth and development, you have communities that go through this, they're rural, they're big, open acreage, green spaces that you have the community and the market starts dreaming up, what do we put there? Okay. And that's, from commercial to industrial to residential. Then all that stuff comes. And then you have a balance of how much of each one you've got. Then all of a sudden you have this place of discipline. Now, for the most part, in which Cornelius is in this space, we are, pretty well developed. As I say, I wouldn't say there's an abundance or an overabundance of green acreage lying around Cornelius these days. There's a few little pocket areas, but for the most part, a lot of our community is developed. So what happens is you have to start thinking about redevelopment. You have to start thinking about what development you do have remaining. How do you make sure that is truly adding value to the community? And you have to think about your balance. How are you balanced? We've talked about this at length. 90% of Cornelius residents that live here work somewhere else. 90% of the individuals that work here live somewhere else. that is a definition of being somewhat imbalanced, and that's not, you know, that's not a hit on Cornelius. That's what
Just the way
naturally
it is.
happens. Yeah, whenever you are a ring community outside of one of the fastest growing markets in the country. Oh, and by the way, you have one of the most pristine, largest, and beautiful lakes in the state of North Carolina. That's just what happens. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what does the next 10 to 15 years or 10 to 20 years look like for us? And can we do some things that are different than what we've done before and really help us to reestablish balance and creating value for the community? So that's why I talk about less of bedroom community and more of like an employment center. And I say that with a lot of discipline in mind of saying not necessarily like any type of heavy industrial. I think more along the lines of boutique office development, technology incubation, and startup environments. Just adding a whole nother layer of leveraging these really brilliant residents that we have that live here already. How are we giving options and opportunities to them to have their companies or their place of business or their own business individually operate here in Cornelius? That's where I would like to see us move in the future.
That's awesome. And, I guess a question for you. I think you and I agree on this, but how important do you think Exit 27 would be to our community?
That is a critically important exit to the future of Cornelius. Just for, I would say, a quality of life from, I think it's going to be a traffic relief point again. But then also it's like anything else, and you know this, it can be a blessing or it can be a curse. It's a blessing if we bring on this new interchange like Exit 27 and we've thought about it, studied it enough to know that the development that comes is additive, that supports the community. Or it's a curse if kind of we let the market do what the market will do, which will kind of look at every piece and parcel of acreage and we'll try to jam and cram as much into it that it possibly can for the, for the private sector profitability. So having a really good discipline about how we grow that corridor is going to be kind of the real test for Cornelius moving forward.
I think you and I agree, too, that you're probably not going to see a Walmart in Cornelius.
No, I don't think so.
I'm really happy about our new hospital that's rising as we speak. It's going to be such a great amenity. Our town needed that. We really did. Medical care is one of those ingredients that communities need. And I'm so proud that we're getting the best of the best here in our community. And but that's tied into Exit 27 also.
That's right. Yep.
So there's a lot more to that development. There's things that we specifically need to recruit. And I don't know that we've done a good enough job communicating that. And well, number one, figuring it out for ourselves. And then number two, communicating that to the world to help us get where we want to go. And what comes to mind is hotels. We really need more hotels in our community. That's a segment, I think, of our commercial side that has deteriorated and not kept up, if you will. We've let other communities surrounding us, drive that.
Right.
And I think it's now our turn to step up and make sure we complement our community with that component.
Yeah, I think you made a couple of great points there, and one that I haven't touched on, I probably should. So what most individuals don't understand or realize, and it's not their job to, is that in economic development, when you're talking about having strategic growth, to your point exactly, it means understanding your story of community, getting very specific about what do you want for your community, and then taking that to the global market and telling the market exactly what you want. If you do that, you'll be surprised at how many companies, corporations, and opportunities will come to you that will really drive and generate positive value for your community. I mean, it really, I wish it was, I'm glad it's not more complex. It really is that simple. It's get your story right, plan for it, and then go tell the people that can make that difference. Go tell them that story and tell them you want them in your market. I was like, and that's how you bring them there. what most communities don't fully understand or do that. And so what happens is they just kind of let the market develop by its own devices. And what's the first thing that, especially in a hot market like, Lake Norman, Charlotte, it's going to be residential. I mean, everybody's trying to look for a piece of property to stick residential. And then next, after it's residential, is like all those people got to shop and eat and stuff. So next, it's your retail strip center that goes in. Those are the two most dominant things because there's the most money in there. I would say they're good. There's nothing wrong with that if they're balanced. The great thing for Cornelius is saying like, okay, that's great that we have an abundance of these things. We have a lot of residents. We have a lot of, we have all these things. Now let's talk about how are we becoming more of an employment center to serve the population that lives here right now? And then being very specific, going out and taking that to the market and telling companies and corporations, we want you guys located here. We want the people around Lake Norman to come here for work each day, not necessarily have to commute into Charlotte or the other surrounding areas.
And where are these people going to live?
That's right.
Which has turned into pretty much of a priority that we started here in this community, and it's something to think about. We're not there yet. We've got a lot to figure out in way of workforce housing. So it's pretty critical that I think we figure that out in order to keep it's all tied together.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what's pretty amazing. So I want you to talk a little bit about our downtown.
Okay.
It's something that's near and dear to me, and one of the main reasons I was so passionate about the Kane Center. And from my perspective, the Kane Center has done exactly what we expected it to do. It certainly it's the largest economic development incentive or investment that the town has ever made. But the citizens voted for it. I mean, you put it out, they voted for it. So, it doesn't get any better than that. So don't come be critical about it to me because you voted for it, people, like a big time, 70%. So talk about downtown. I know we got a downtown redevelopment plan going on right now.
Yeah, so I think whenever you have a facility or an asset like the Kane Center, it's still so early. It's amazing how much good energy it's already started to generate. But what it does is it allows the community and the market to start dreaming. It allows them to see and visualize this is what redevelopment, when done well and done right, looks like. And this is how you can start kind of injecting and revitalizing your downtown. So I think Kane Center is the perfect catalyst because it creates identity, it creates arts, music, wonderful things that I think are really important to Cornelius that you can start attaching to and saying, this is something that we value, and what other types of supporting development opportunities exist around this that we can start driving into our downtown. So, I think this is just the beginning. I think what we'll see in the Kane Center, I think you'll look back 15 years from now and have a big smile on your face and say, what have we done? Because this is one of those things that there's rarely are there silver bullets. This is a pretty good one, though. As I say, this really starts to get the community to understand that we can do so much more and create so many good opportunities for our residents.
Exactly.
If we just have a little bit of vision.
Yeah, and so here we go. Lots going on in our downtown. We didn't even have time to touch on the red line, but we'll do that next time we have you on the show. But, incredible things happening in our town. Be sure, listeners, to put the Memorial Day celebration on your calendar. It is this Monday at 10 o'clock at the Kane Center for the Arts. You won't want to miss it. So come on out, 10. This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we'll see you next time.
Morrisville,